think it was Malcolm Gladwell who said hard work is only a prison sentence if it doesn't have any meaning. And we had meaning in trying to win a World Cup. So the graft and the effort we put in away from the bright lights, the big stadiums and all the sponsors was where trophies and business wins are truly won, and you have to find a way to give it real purpose and meaning. Hello, my name is Will Greenwood. I am currently Chief Customer Officer for an AI company called Afiniti. In my previous life, I was a foreign exchange trader for HSBC back in the early 90s. And then I took up professional rugby in 1996. I was part of a magnificent England team. I was a small cog that won the World Cup in 2003. Since then, I've worked for Sky for 15 years and written for the Daily Telegraph, over 1 million of my own words on the game of rugby by and large. And then 7 or 8 years ago, moved into the commercial world, working in AI. Pivotal moment, it's probably plural, pivotal moments. Every 3 or 4 years, I seem to come to inflection points, forks in the road, dancing moments, loads of moments. I mean, I nearly stayed in the city, but I went for professional rugby. I turned down Cambridge when they came for me as a postgrad, because I at 21 had felt I'd had enough of education. These moments, I've been very privileged to have some wonderful offers down the years, and with it I've had to make some big decisions, but I keep coming back to what challenges me. What connection is there between reward and effort? How complex is it, and how much control or how much input will I be allowed to have into organizations? And if there are ticks where I feel like I can co-support, co-drive, co-lead, if it is testing physically and mentally, and there is a real XY axis linear connection between how much graft I can put in and what I can get out of it, then I tend to go for it. I often wonder where the other me might be if I hadn't stayed in the city working for HSBC rather than going into professional rugby, if I'd taken a job in teaching when I finished, as opposed to going into journalism. So I think the reality is most of my pivotal moments have been based around the pursuit of better, and just trying to finish each day, if I break it down into the real micro, just finish each day a little bit better than I started. I have what is called by my friends sort of relentless enthusiasm, often described as Donkey from Shrek. If there's a fascinating project that's both cerebrally challenging or physically a real test, then I tend to find myself signing up. Fascinating. So I wrote a book in lockdown with my great friend Ben Fennell called World Class, and it celebrates difference, forges togetherness and accelerates growth. So the reality is, 21 years after winning a World Cup, there are lots of lessons I took from that, but actually the amount of time I've been able to spend with world-class leaders, whether it be Dame Amanda Blanc at Aviva, Dana Strong, ex of Comcast, now CEO of Sky, to Philip Jansen at BT, the list goes on. I've been tremendously honoured to be able to get time with some of these great people and do some work with their organisations. Has meant that I've been able to take some of the lessons of 03 and understand if they translate into business, but also vice versa, to listen to some of the great businesses and to see if they can translate back into the world of sport. So I think it's often talked about in the business world, or what can we learn from sport? The reality is sport is often stealing and borrowing the IP and going the other way. What did I learn from rugby? I mean, rugby gave me everything. I'm a big believer in empowering those around you, which we were very fortunate to have a leader in Sir Clive Woodward who gave us autonomy over the different facets of the game, because the game of rugby can be broken up into, we broke it up into 7 areas. And so we had many leaders underneath our outstanding captain, Martin Johnson. A huge believer in teamship. You can call that culture. High performance teams create an extraordinary togetherness, which is often taken for granted in high performing organizations and teams, but actually needs real work, and articulating and often documenting to understand that those that join the organization understand, can have an input, can help iterate, but understand the type of organization, the behaviors and the values that are cherished and valued. We were relentless in our pursuit of marginal gains, in pursuit of our 1% improvements on a day-to-day level. And we never shied away from hard work. And I think it was Malcolm Gladwell who said hard work is only a prison sentence if it doesn't have any meaning. And we had meaning in trying to win a World Cup. So the graft and the effort we put in away from the bright lights, the big stadiums and all the sponsors was where trophies and business wins are truly won, and you have to find a way to give it real purpose and meaning. There's many different ways of leading. I think as a leader, you often have to be pretty ruthless, pretty relentless, but in the same breath, understand the humans, the athletes. They're not objects, they're not tools. Your employees are not just deliverers of KPIs, they're real people. And so if you can connect, if your words can connect with the head and the heart, then I genuinely think you can beat anyone, win anything, be the best in whatever mode of employment you're in. Captains and leaders often do thankless jobs. It's you have to be relatable. You have to roll your sleeves up. You have to be do as I do, not do as I say. Often the easiest way to lead is to serve. That's an interesting way of looking at it. You have to create environments whereby you very rarely fix problems yourself, but you create environments where people are empowered to fix the problems around you. Communication is key. I'm a big believer in little and often with the communication, the key messages, what it is you're trying to drive home, and often just at the point you might be getting bored of your own voice. That's at the point where the messages are starting to stick. I think you've got to know when to stand up for your beliefs, your convictions. I got a great piece of advice from an outstanding leader called Jeremy Darroch. And he said, you got to know what you're prepared to get sacked over. What is it that you're going to draw a line in the sand? And if you begin to understand some of these key questions, then it sets yourself up for success. I think what's also key is the great leaders, and it took me some time. My wife will say I'm still not there yet. At the very top, you've got to be in control of your emotions. If you have huge highs and huge lows, I think you can have a massive impact, but it'll be short and sweet. I think if you can chop off the tops of the mountains and flatten the troughs and keep that heart rate between 70 and 90, you've got half a chance. Otherwise, up at 36,000 feet, it'll drive you to an early grave. If I was to do one, I would keep coming back to getting to know your people. I've often believed if you have good people, it doesn't matter the industry, it doesn't matter the challenge. You can get anything done. And I know others will disagree, but first who, then what. And if you're tough on issues and soft on people, that's not ruinously empathetic. That's making sure you're contextualizing feedback. Feedback should be not every day of the year, but not left for one review at the end of each year. Taking the time to understand what gets the best out of me. We call them boom moments. What gets the best out of your team? What's the environment you need to create whereby every day they can turn up and be the best version of themselves? Checking in and checking out at the start of meetings. How are people turning up? If they're quiet in a Zoom meeting, it's not because they're disengaged. Maybe something's going on at home. Maybe they're grappling with an issue away from the office or even in the office that's utilizing too much of their emotional energy and work bandwidth. So I've maybe overly articulated that, but get to know your people, look after your people, be authentic, put some skin in the game, really care about them. And the older I've got, I've just seen the increasing importance of that, whether it be sport or business. To finish, I've been working with some of the greatest businesses on the planet for, I won't say 20 years, but 10, 15 years. And I was lucky enough to be part of one of England's greatest ever sporting teams. And I've been scribbling notes down my entire life, and I find it a real pleasure to be able to share some of these ideas, and they're only ideas. I love arguing, I love debating, I love exploring the grey area of how you can pursue better, both as an individual and as a collective. I'm easy in whatever format it would be, whether it be a 2-hour PowerPoint presentation or a 15-minute stand up and entertain the crowd, whether it be black tie or 8 o'clock in the morning at a business breakfast. I like to feel what rugby has given me is the ability to mix with people, no matter where they come from or what they represent. And talking about some of my experiences and sharing some of those experiences and helping organisations get stronger is a real passion of mine. So thank you for listening, and hopefully we can do some work together.